Hello everyone, it's OD Guardian here. In this video, I'm going to take a look at 6 budget decks that are capable of reaching Legend. It is the last month of Rise of Shadows, next month we will get the Saviors of Uldum, but it's still a nice time to play some Hearthstone and maybe even hit Legend even if you don't have a lot of dust. For example, this season 1120 dust and I got to number 131 Legend with that. So it's not all about how much dust you can invest, although you do need a deck that has good synergies within it. And all 6 decks that I present in this video, they are all my original builds, and each of them I believe is capable of reaching Legend. Obviously I didn't play to Legend 6 times already with these decks, but I used all of them successfully as part of my climb. Coming in at number 6 is Zoo Warlock. It's 1420 dust plus Snip Snap. The Snip Snap promotion just ended, which is pretty unfortunate because lots of budget decks that you would like to build are based around mechs. Mechs are excellent tools for a budget player, and Snip Snap in a mech deck is just insane. It's typically the best card in the deck if it's in a full mech deck. Because you can just play it out, you can magnetize it, you can fill your board with just Snip Snap alone. Late in the game, if you've lost the board, you just play 3 Snip Snaps side by side, for example. Just such a phenomenal card. So all the mech-based budget decks, they are a little bit weaker if you don't have Snips. I believe they are still Legend capable, but they are a little bit weaker. But I also have some non-mech-based budget decks, so don't worry, you still have options even if you don't have the card. Mech Zoo Warlock, it's a fun deck. It's a really Hearthstone 101 deck. It's all about board control, making smart trades, then choosing when to push face, taking over the game with your minions and winning. 2 copies of Henchclan Hogsteed give the deck a little bit of way to deal with early pressure, so if your opponent plays like Galvanizer and then before they start magnetizing it you can take it out with the Henchclan Hogsteed, prevent some magnetization opportunities. Also there's 2 copies of Silence in the deck, so if the opponent makes big magnetized mechs you can deal with that one too. Very educational deck to play overall. At number 5 is Token Druid. In Rise of Shadows, Token Druid has traditionally been the best budget deck, but I feel like Token Druid has gone down a little bit. It's still okay, it's still solid, it's still good, it's still Legend capable, but it's not always the best one anymore, because people have so much experience on how to play against it. I've built multiple Token Druid decks on a budget. On this channel you can find 3 variations, this is the newest one. I actually think even the oldest one is still perfectly capable, just trying to tech against the meta a little bit. I put in a Silence when there were lots of Mech Paladins. Now that I've been seeing more like Bomb Hunters, I put in Henchclan Hogsteed so that you can take down the early Galvanizer and prevent them from snowballing. Token Druid is just a deck that builds a board after board after board, and if the opponent fails to remove any of them, then it's Savage Roar and bye bye. Coming in at number 4 is Bomb Hunter. Bomb Hunter is a very common deck on the ladder. People have a lot of experience playing against it, but it still has just so much power. And perhaps the nicest thing about this deck is that double Venomizer, double Spider Bomb mean that even as a budget deck this has lots of hard removal. It is really able to contest even big threats. Bomb Hunter's weakness is decks that go really wide, because the only real answer the deck has to that is to play Missile Launcher and magnetize Venomizer on that for that poisonous area of effect damage that just kills everything. But for the most part, this deck is the aggressor, so it doesn't worry too much about such things. In this budget version I go with a couple of Bronze Gatekeepers for some defensive capabilities, and 1 copy of Silence that can also help you deal with something big and magnetized, for example. While this deck uses Snip Snap, Snip Snap is not as important in this one as it is in something like Token Druid. But you can still do really well, even if you have to replace the card. At number 3 I have Tempo Rogue, and Rogue is the only real tempo deck in Hearthstone, because it's a deck that has a lot of tempo tools, like Zap. Zap doesn't actually kill anything, it just removes the minion that your opponent played, nullifies their play in effect, forces them to maybe redo it again. They lose a lot of tempo, they lose a lot of time, and in that time you just push damage and you kill them. And this sort of rogue deck also has tempo tools like Vendetta. Once you have a card from another class, Vendetta is going to cost 0. 4 damage to a minion for no mana, that allows you to develop on the side. Just such a great thing. And now with Pilfer buffed, Pilfer is going to give you a card from another class, so even if you end up in a Rogue Mirror, Pilfer is also a card that's going to give you something else than Rogue card, so it activates your Vendettas, and it activates your Underbelly Fences. Then this is really a deck that is very capable. It takes a very specific mindset to really play Tempo Rogue, because you don't challenge the opponents in a value battle, and you're also not really a pure phase deck, pure aggro deck. You just need to disrupt the opponent's game plan and push for lethal while they are still struggling to come up with any kind of valid plays. At number 2, I have Silence Priest. I just climbed from rank 2 to rank 1 with Silence Priest. Yes, without Mind Blast. Mind Blast went to Hall of Fame. I thought Silence Priest was dead, but I was wrong. Silence Priest is still alive. I just put more silence effects and a little bit more big minions and a couple of Holy Novas and boom. The most important thing about playing Silence Priest is that you need to play Silence Priest as an aggro deck. Don't think of Silence Priest as a combo deck. I mean, it has Divine Spirit, and it has Inner Fire, so it has the ability to make just a huge minion and boom, one hit the opponent, and sometimes you do that. But for the most part, you're playing overstated minions, you're silencing them, so that you take away the downsides that they have, and you keep pushing, and you just play an aggro game and you win. Control cards in Hearthstone in general are pretty expensive, so when you're playing on a budget, you're often playing these fairly aggressive decks. Let's try to go under the more expensive decks and win the game before they know what's up. The same also applies to my number 131 Legend Midrange Hunter deck. This Midrange Hunter deck is nothing like the Midrange Hunter deck in Rise of Shadows. Midrange Hunter in Hearthstone in all previous metagames has always been a borderline aggro deck, very aggressive, the most aggressive midrange deck in the game. Always just pushing that damage and just getting a bigger and bigger threat on the board. Constantly being threatening, forcing the opponent to respond. And this Midrange Hunter is much more like those quick, very fast, and not at all like the full-on value deck that Midrange Hunter nowadays is with Master's Call and Zul'jin. But this aggressive strategy, it works. I played this from rank 1 to Legend, and then I kept climbing in Legend all the way to 131 with this. And the deck only has 4 rare cards in it. Just a really fun, aggressive deck to play. I have built some other budget decks as well, but I think these 6 are the most Legend capable of the decks that I have built. I hope they will serve you well in your climb. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.